All right, welcome back to the Project Management Nation. Today we're going to talk about difficult stakeholders. We've all been there. We've all been in a meeting. We've all been on the other side of an email, whatever it is, where you have a stakeholder who is important and critical to getting your project over the line, and they're difficult. Maybe they're withholding budget. Maybe they're withholding people. Maybe they're adding scope. This video is going to talk about how to deal with difficult stakeholders. Okay, so difficult stakeholders, we've all had them. They're not easy to work with, but you have to do it. It's part of the job. In today's video, we're going to talk about 4 things that we can do to help improve the way we deal with stakeholders. So the very first thing that you have to do is you have to stay calm. Difficult stakeholders, they bring out the worst in people. It brings up emotion. It brings up anxiety, and as project managers, that can really just ruin our day. It can also impact the project. So we have to work with the difficult stakeholders, but the first thing we need to do ourselves is stay calm. There may be things that we can do personally to calm ourselves down. Take some deep breaths, go to a happy place in our mind, whatever those tricks are that you might have for trying to calm yourself down. Inside the mind, there's the rational frontal cortex, and there's the more animal limbic system. When you're in a state of heightened anxiety, you've gone limbic. Your limbic mind is taken over. It tends to be the fight or flight. Don't let that side be the side that interacts with your stakeholders. Make it the frontal cortex. Avoid the limbic. So once you've gotten yourself calm, once you've realized and brought that frontal cortex to bear, the first thing that you should do is a root cause analysis. So take a look at the stakeholders and identify them. Have you, first of all, gotten them all identified? One of the things that I find is that a lot of the hostile stakeholder interactions I've had are stakeholders who pop up and say, hey, why haven't I been included in this project? So maybe you don't have them all. Go through and make sure you've done a thorough assessment of all of those stakeholders who should be part of the project. Once you have that thorough list of stakeholders, categorize them. Who are the highest priority ones? Who are the ones that are important but maybe not as critical to the project? With those most critical ones, you can start to break down, okay, what are their motivations? What do they want from the project? What's their personality? What's their communication style? Try to find out for those most critical stakeholders, all of those types of things, because the more you know about your stakeholder, the better you're going to be able to communicate with them. Once you've got them prioritized and you understand their motivations, you can go ahead and you can start to reach out to them, have those sit-down conversations. But the worst thing that can happen is to be in a stakeholder meeting and not know what the stakeholder is going to say. So before you have a big stakeholder meeting, why don't you have those little private conversations with them to make sure that you're aligned? When you're having those reach out conversations, make sure that you are listening carefully, that active listening that needs to be done. Listen to what they say and repeat back. Say, so what I heard you say is, make sure that you're acknowledging what they're saying so that they really feel heard. Be objective. So you've got things that you've got to do. You may have a situation where your manager is really on you, pushing you to get this project on time, on budget, on scope. But the stakeholder has things that they want done that are going to put pressure on the budget, time, or scope. And that's going against everything that you feel like you need to do. Be objective and put yourself in the place of the organization. What is best for that organization? That's what you should be delivering. And if you have to have that conversation with your boss and say, you know what, I talked with stakeholder so-and-so, they really think we should do this, and I think they're right. You might have to have that conversation on the back end. Another thing that difficult stakeholders love is when you respond quickly to their issues. You may not be able to resolve their issues quickly, but at least acknowledging it, saying, hey, we're working on it, put it on the list, make sure that it's visible to them when you interact and say, hey, I haven't forgotten about XYZ, this is what we're doing for it, but I need your input on this other thing. So making sure that they understand that their issues are cared for and that you're responding to them as quickly as possible, that will help diffuse difficult stakeholder situations. Sometimes when a stakeholder asks for something, you simply can't do it. Maybe you've got a hard deadline, one of those that you can't move, and they've asked for some scope that just simply won't fit. That's the time when you need to be firm and say, I understand that you want that. I can't do that with the resources and time that are available right now. I will need to look at what we can do for maybe a phase 2 or something else. But there are times when, as a project or program manager, you need to be firm. Now, being firm doesn't mean intentionally trying to aggravate that stakeholder. Being firm means standing your ground, using rational thought and arguments to explain to that stakeholder why they can't have what they are asking for in the time frame that they're asking for it. So sometimes you will just simply have to be firm. The last thing about stakeholder management is, once you've solved any kind of immediate crisis, is you need to continue to monitor for additional changes. Just because a stakeholder is happy now doesn't mean that they're going to be happy in a week. So constantly take their temperature. If you have that kind of relationship with the stakeholder where you can ping them on a regular basis, do that. Maybe it's an instant message, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a sit-down meeting, whatever it is. Take their temperature to find out how they think the project is going and what you can do as a program manager to improve that. If you do those things, your stakeholder situations will improve. Thank you for listening. All right, I hope that you enjoyed the content of that video and that it was useful for you. Please like and subscribe. Also, please put in the comments any comments you have, any thoughts, expand the ideas that I presented. Also, if you've got ideas for other videos, please let me know. Right now, I'm going to take a second to do a shameless plug. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book. I was fortunate enough to have it picked up by a publisher. It's called The MBA Distilled for Project and Program Professionals. And it talks about the experience that I had getting my MBA while being a project and program manager. It covers all of the core MBA courses, from corporate strategy to finance, accounting, economics, and it takes the learnings from the MBA program and applies it to our profession. I really enjoyed writing the book. I think there's a lot of great skills that we can apply to our profession in it. My favorite chapter, though, is the very last chapter. And if you are a project or program professional and you're thinking about getting your MBA, you're going to want to read that chapter. It will help you to decide. I believe in the power of the MBA and that it can be a real career booster, but not for everybody. And I talk through all of my logic as to why. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video.